It's the most horrific story that Netflix and the mainstream media simply will not cover. But it's the real Adolescence, and it's not the angelic white choir boy who is responsible for the brutal murder of his classmate. Look at the front page of today's Daily Mirror, which reveals that Mohammed Umar Khan, a first-generation Muslim immigrant, has been jailed for 16 years over the death of, as Peter Lloyd puts it, white Harvey Willgoose. And he adds, zero outrage from race activists or the usual grifters. Imagine the months-long fury if the races were reversed. And this story is truly chilling. But of course, the mainstream media have not dealt with the elephant in the room at all. This is how it broke on Sly News.
Breaking news. Within the last few moments, a judge in Sheffield has allowed the identification of the killer of the teenager Harvey Willgoose. Well, I'm joined now by our North of England correspondent, Katerina Vitozzi, who's at Sheffield Crown Court. Katerina, the boy was just 15 when these attacks happened. Tell us what's happened in court today.
Yes, well, until now, the killer of Harvey Willgoose has had his identity, it's been restricted in terms of the reporting of his identity because he's under the age of 18. But the judge here at Sheffield Crown Court, on the day when that boy will be sentenced, has now said that he can be identified, and we can do that now. Mohammed Umar Khan, known as Umar, is the 15-year-old boy who stabbed Harvey Willgoose to death at their school in February this year. Over the course of the trial, there was a lot of detail that was already made public. It was just the name, really, that we weren't able to disclose at that time. We know that Umar Khan, as he was referred to during the trial here, brought a 13-centimetre hunting knife into school with him that day. And in an attack which happened just outside the school canteen, moments before the school lunch break, in just 2 blows, he fatally stabbed Harvey Willgoose, a boy who had said that previously, you know, that he had been friends with, but they'd had a recent falling out, and it ended with this horrendous attack on Harvey that killed him.
Yeah, it is horrendous, and it absolutely mirrors the storyline of the Netflix series, apart from that the woke producers decided to do a race swap. Because, of course, they don't want to acknowledge the reality. Connor Tomlinson on this wrote, Mohammed Umar Khan stabbed Harvey Willgoose in the chest and murdered him at All Saints Catholic High School in February. But the government, news, and inevitable Netflix adaptation will try to convince you these crimes happen the other way around. This did not need to happen. Khan did not need to be here. We shouldn't have to live with these people. We can't, clearly. And Leo Kearse added, how many kids are we going to sacrifice on the altar of multiculturalism? Stephen Barrett, being facetious, wrote, remember, plebs, watch Adolescence, not the news. But even in the news coverage, there is an absence. And by the way, it's utterly horrifying, and seeing the video, it's chilling. But there is an absence of the social commentary in the wider context that's required. This from the British Bashing Corporation. Dan Wootton Outspoken is available as a podcast too. So to listen or watch us on the go, wherever you are, then please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as a personal favour to me, please rate and review, as it really helps our independent.
It looks like a play fight in the corridor. Hours later, the boy seen shoving Harvey here would pull out a hunting knife and stab him. That boy was Mohammed Umar Khan. Today we could finally name him. A rare decision for a judge. She said it was of substantial public interest because it was such a serious crime committed by a child. Here he is after the fatal attack. He's agitated. There's chaos all around because other pupils can see his knife. A frightening moment.
Your knife had cut through the full thickness of one of Harvey's ribs. As Harvey backed away, you advanced towards him. Harvey ran towards you, and you were seen to have advanced again dancing on your feet and waving the knife. Harvey again backed away. 49 seconds after you had stabbed him, he collapsed on the ground.
I mean, it is utterly, almost unspeakably traumatic, this case. I want to turn to my superstar panel, Jasmine Birtles and Gurmit Singh. Gurmit, do you know the parents in this case, who are the migrants to this country, fought and fought and fought for their son's name not to be revealed because they claimed that that could put them at threat? But what about Harvey Willgoose? How did this happen? Where are the questions? I think we need to know what happened with these parents, how they raised this murdering monster when we gave them everything.
I completely agree with you, Dan, and regardless of colour or religion, it's heartbreaking to hear of any one of our youth dying, especially in such a horrific manner. We've seen this over the years when it's come to the grooming scandals, how they've tried to hide the colour and the culture and the religion of the assailants. This is another situation where the parents have tried to hide the individual who was responsible for killing Harvey. It's something that I've seen, especially with my work, within exposing grooming gangs, that the Islamic community have been quite hell-bent on, and that's a try of flipping the scripts and making it out like, well, once they do commit the crimes, that they're actually a victim of it themselves, and they use this as an excuse to try and hide and shelter themselves and the assailants within the community. I've seen this over and over again, and this is just another circumstance of that, in my opinion.
100%. Jasmine Birtles, one of the problems is, though, that the mainstream media, the entertainment giants, the likes of Netflix, want to have a conversation about race when it's apparently young white incels. You know, they're obsessed with this idea of young white incels being radicalized by far-right personalities like Andrew Tate. That, for them, is an acceptable, safe conversation.
Yes.
But that's not the reality. It's not what's happening. But first, as we get older, you notice it. After a cold day, hard workout, even a long week, recovery just isn't as quick as it used to be, right? That bounce back factor matters. And it turns out the secret isn't luck, it's stem cells, your body's built-in repair crew. With age, that system slows down. Fewer cells, weaker signals, slower recovery. That's exactly why Qualia created Qualia Stem Cell. Think of it this way. Your cells are powerful. Qualia Stem Cell helps keep them that way. It's crafted with nature's heavy lifters, sea buckthorn royal jelly, and more to support your body's natural repair system so you can keep moving, healing, and thriving. You don't have to accept slowing down. This is about supporting better aging by reactivating the systems that help you bounce back. And it's refreshingly simple. You take it just 4 days a month. So if you've ever felt like your body just doesn't bounce back like it used to, whether it's after a tough workout, getting sick, or just the wear and tear of life, this is for you. Qualia Stem Cell was designed to support your body's natural repair systems, helping you heal, recover, and keep going strong. And right now, you can try it for up to 50% off at qualialife.com/Dan. And here's a bonus. Use the code Dan for an additional 15% off your order. So that's QUALIA life.com/Dan. Your body's built to repair itself. Qualia just helps it do it that better. And a big thanks, by the way, to Qualia for sponsoring this episode of Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
No, exactly. And I've said this to some of my lefty friends over and over, that Andrew Tate is not a problem. You know, with a small number of people, yes, okay, there may be a problem there, but for the vast majority, he really isn't. And it's there isn't the far right that they think exists barely does, either in this country or across Europe. Although they are being created, certainly, you know, I think there are a number that are being more and more pushed further and further to the right because of, as you say, the woke left taking over all the institutions. Of course, we have a number of black boys, young black boys, who have been killed by white men. I mean, you can think of a few over the last few decades. So it isn't just in this direction. But as you say, the problem is the woke media, the MSM, which, as you say, only wants to have a conversation about young white boys, particularly, and what the problem is with them. It seems to me at the moment, according to the MSN, the worst possible thing you could be in this world right now is a young white male.
100%. And they try to demonize events like Unite the Kingdom, which Gurmit Singh's organization Urban Scoop is very much behind. But actually, I just want to show you this viral video, which is just coming out from Unite the Kingdom of late, which dispels so many of those MSM lies. Watch this.
Certain groups such as Stand Up to Racism, and I believe a lot of them are doing more harm than good, because they're actually calling people Nazis, racists, and it's very difficult to come back from that because they're not actually debating. They're just slapping these harsh labels on people, and I actually believe that they're generating more racism and more racial sentiment, and they're actually creating more racist people. I've never really experienced a lot of racism, or should I say open or blatant racism, but I believe groups like that are actually quite dangerous because they're actually making people believe that there's a lot of racism out there, and they're making people feel like they're victims. And a lot of these voices are white liberal voices, so why are you allowing white liberal voices to tell you how much racism there is out there? It just doesn't make any sense. So again, I would say don't allow yourself to be indoctrinated. Go out there, do your own research, judge by your own experiences. We all go mix with different people, and then is that really your experience on a day-to-day basis, or is that because people are telling you that? People are making you feel like you're a victim. Oh, everybody's racist, everybody's racist. So that's what I mean when I say I believe these groups are actually doing more harm than good.
Now, Gurmit Singh, that was a fascinating conversation for me. And your role in Urban Scoop is quite interesting in all of this too, because, of course, you're not white and you're very close with Tommy Robinson.
I mean, my history with Tommy Robinson goes back a lot further than Unite the Kingdom. I'm probably one of the only people that's still around that was
You're an OG.
I'm an EDL OG, yeah. I mean, I was leading the English defence team with Tommy Robinson from practically the inception of it. So going back like 16, 17 years, I used to organise our demonstrations. I used to do some spokesperson work. So I've been around a long time. And I can honestly say I've never seen any racism at our demonstrations, and I've never suffered it myself in any single way. This idea of far-right extremism and racism keeps coming up from MSM. If we're talking about Unite the Kingdom, or we could talk about the caseloads on the deaths at ML5. We all know that Islamic extremism is a real threat to our country, and we've got evidence of it over and over again. There has been the odd instance of far-right extremism, but I do not believe it's as serious as a problem as what mainstream media and our political elites try to make it out to be. But when it comes to a UTK demonstration, none of it actually exists. And you've seen that yourself, Dan, because you've been there present many times yourself.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting because, of course, what you are dealing with as one of these OGs, Gurmit, is that shifting Overton window coming your way. And as a result, you can say quite proudly, and I'm sure it brings you a lot of frustration to say, well, look, I was saying this 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You were deriding me. You were trying to lock me up. You were trying to shut us down. At the same time, I think we should celebrate these shifting sands in a lot of ways because the country desperately needs change. And it's been really fascinating to see in the past week the Conservative Party, which totally failed in government, and I don't think I could ever vote for them again. So this isn't me saying the Tories are the answer, but really interesting that they are now openly talking about the Islam threat for the first time. And Nick Timothy posted on this, and remember, he used to be a former advisor to Theresa May. We have de facto Islamic blasphemy laws and a crisis of free speech in Britain. When this Sky News presenter accused me of othering Muslims and causing division, this is what I told him. And I found it fascinating because I'm like, this was a conversation that Tommy Robinson would have been having on Sky News about 15 years ago. Watch.
Be very careful in your language, but you'll know that it will be heard that you are being very critical of the Muslim community right now with this idea, this sense of an othering of the Muslim community and maybe an undercurrent of danger from that community.
Not at all, and I don't really understand these terms like othering and things like that. I think it's well. Look, I think your question is. And I know it's not your view. You're asking a question on behalf of a particular perspective. But this is exactly what's wrong with how we talk about these issues. If you try to talk openly and freely about undoubted social problems that exist in this country, you are immediately accused of bad faith. That's not what's going on at all. My words will stand for themselves, but we have a crisis in free speech in this country, and we need to do something about it.
I'm sorry to rush you, because this is an important debate. We should have much more time to talk about it. I hope you and I will get to do that again very soon. All right, thank you very much for being with us.
I mean, Jasmine, obviously, Sly News totally awful there, but it is fascinating, isn't it, seeing these so-called far-right hobby horses, which actually are about the future of our country, the destruction of our country, go mainstream.
Yes, absolutely. I think they realise finally that the majority of the country really, and it goes across all strata of society, the majority of the country, and it doesn't matter what colour you are either, is worried about unchecked, uncontrolled immigration, about cultures that are setting up in this country that will not integrate, that refuse to integrate. And much of it is our fault. It's the fault of our governments who have not insisted on integration from those who have immigrated here. And this is the majority of the country that's worried about it. And finally, it seems that, as you say, the Conservative Party and to some extent the MSM are realising that they are the minority, the majority is concerned, and they need to address it and accept it and stop calling it far right and fascist.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go wherever you are.